Today, I'm going to be sharing with you what people that tell you that they started their chain of restaurant, starting with a cup of rice, a pinch of salt, a pair of cutleries, how they do it. I'm going to be sharing that with you today. And it's a secret that's in the open for all of us to see because they're not doing anything special. Okay, maybe they're embellishing their story a little bit. Yeah, give or take, that's possible. But then there are principles, there are things that they do that help them to move from the point where nobody would listen to them to that point right now where we listen to their embellished stories. They've got to achieve some level of success before we will give them the audience to speak to us. So, what is it that such people are doing to move from being nothing, having nothing, to the point where they are something and they're a big deal in their industry right now? And they grab our attention that we even listen to them in the first place. This might look like something complicated, but it's not. It's very simple. And I try as much as possible to make whatever I'm talking about simple so that we can all put it to use. And this is something that we are all very familiar with from our economics class in school. We've all heard about factors of production. Yes, I'm not going to say something that's so big that we don't, that's just like out of this world that we're just learning because of a revelation or something. Someone just teaching us from the university. So this is just something as basic as what we already learned in high school, factors of production. I tell you, that is their secret, that is what they do, and that's how they're able to move their business from that level that they didn't look so successful to the point where we all give it to them that they have made a success of whatever industry that they are in. So you remember those factors of production, right? Land, labor, capital, and what? Entrepreneurship. Yes, land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. Those factors of production are needed to make production happen. Those are the things that we need to put in place before you produce an idea, you produce a service, you produce a product. Before we create things, those factors come together. So you might be wondering right now, land, are we doing agriculture? Am I going to start farming? What is it exactly? Where exactly does land come in into my kind of business? And I will like try to break it down this way. And the days where agriculture was what everyone did, land was the universal resource. It was the factor that was supposed to be available to everyone. It's the free gift of nature. It's what everyone had, so to say. So, what would be the equivalent of that today? I think we can boldly say that looks like the internet. Yes, many businesses exist right now that would not even exist if the internet were not here. And there are so many people that have made success of their business because they were able to use the internet to improve on the way that that business had always been done. What distinguished them in that industry that they are right now is the fact that they are using the internet in a way that just made them successful more than the others. So, if you are going to be serious about your business, then you need to think about the ways that you can put the internet to use to make that business stand out, and run successfully. So, a factor of production that you cannot leave behind, especially when you are bootstrapping and you don't have so much money, is the internet. And I know it costs something to use the internet, but yeah, I think it's the most basic thing that's out there that everyone could make use of. But now you have to think of the way to use your access to the internet. Is it just to doom stroll and check what's happening on Instagram or Facebook, or know what's the most recent news in town and all that? Or are you going to put it into productive use for your business? So that's the first factor of production that we're going to look at. That looks like something that's so simple, but it's important to pay attention to it if you really want to build a business in this present world that we're in. The second factor of production that I will talk about is labor. So, and I would define labor this way. I'll just call it human resource. That is the resource that you have by virtue of the people around you, the people that you know, the relationships that you have, your friends, your family, your community, the people around you, your network. A lot of successful people today will tell you that they are successful because of the network that they have. That, that's the connection that you have with someone who knows a potential client. That's what I would call labor for you today. That is the relationship that you have with someone who owns a school and is able to introduce you to the students in the school to patronize your service. That is the relationship that you have with someone who knows how to build a website and is able to do it for you for a price that's cheaper than what you will obtain outside. That is going to show up in a lot of different ways for each and every one of us. But all of us have got relationships that you can leverage to improve your business. So we have that second factor. This is one of the factors that you will realize help people that do not have so much money starting their business to move from the point of starting to the point where you call them successful. A lot of that is dependent on how they've leveraged, how they've optimized the relationships that they have to move their businesses forward. So the third factor is the capital. There is no way you are going to run a successful business without money. Even if you do not have so much money to kickstart the business at the beginning, eventually you are going to generate revenues. And the revenue that you generate, you have to think about how to manage the flow of cash in your business, how money comes in, how long money stays in, and how money goes out. If you cannot manage your cash flow very well, it's going to be very difficult for your business to succeed. So we're going to talk about that cash right now because it's even if a lot of capital is infused into your business, you have to learn to know how to manage that capital well. Capital is important. It's not the only thing that is going to make your business succeed, but whatever amount of it you have to run your business, you really, really need to know how to manage it well. And that's what's going to help your business to succeed. And the last factor of production that we'll talk about is entrepreneurship. We all remember what that is. That is the drive, that is the management skill, that is what you use to coordinate all the other three factors of production to make your business work. And you can build this. It's a factor, it's a resource that you can accumulate more and more of if you are really serious about building your business. And how do you build this resource? How do you accumulate more of this resource to help your business? You accumulate that by reading books, attending trainings, um, finding a mentor and listening to mentors. In whatever field you are, there is going to be a lot of people who have gone ahead of you, who stood where you stand now, and they've moved ahead and are able to tell you what the what are the things that you really need to be careful on, where are the pits that you need to avoid along the way, where are the things, the resources that are going to help you to do your business better. And you'll be surprised at the amount of knowledge that's out there that mentors, people that have gone ahead of you, are ready to share if you really have a listening ear. So, this is also very important because even if you have all the other kinds of resources that we talked about, and then there's no like this entrepreneurship to like pull it all together, then you're still going to have a problem running a business. So, my challenge to you today is that running a successful business is not just dependent on having all the money or having any of this resource. You, for example, if you have all the internet in the world and then there's the lack of discipline that being an entrepreneur requires, or if you have all the relationships and you're not making good use of them, or if you have all the money and then you're not making good use of it. So it all has to come together. So for people that will tell you how they moved from being nothing to something, you see what their secret is? They might not have so much money to start their business, but they add these other things. They add the internet or whatever land resource is for them. They add the labor, the relationships aspect. They add some form of capital. They knew how to like manage their capital, manage their cash flow, and they've got the entrepreneurship, the entrepreneurial discipline and drive. So all of these come together. So if you're in that point right now where you have the challenge of moving your business forward because you do not have so much money, there are these things that you can put into consideration. Think about your business and how these factors all come together to make a productive business for you, a business that's going to be productive, sustainable, and successful. And when you put all that factor together, you are definitely going to have a successful business. And I mentioned that you're able to build your entrepreneurial skills by going for trainings, reading, and doing all that. You can also do that by continuing to listen to me. And how you will get to know when I post new content will be if you subscribe. If you like my videos, you're going to be one of the first people that would get to know every time I post something new. So before the end of this video, please like, subscribe, and share with your friends. Until the next time that I see you, I say keep moving forward, keep rising higher, and soar like an eagle.